that do in fact happen. And that's why it's so important for all of us to both do our job properly to try to prevent that and look out for red flags. If you as a real estate agent or me as an attorney, is speaking to somebody and gets wind of something that doesn't seem quite right, don't ignore it. Bring it to the party's attention so we can resolve it prior to closing. The worst thing you can do is close on the transaction and then find out after the fact that, oops, we have a problem. Again, title insurance will assist you, but you don't want to have to deal with
in that scenario where the lot owner now has a house on his lot, title insurance would pay off that lot owner or to make that situation go away.
Yeah, well, what you've described,
it's
there's
rare,
a lot. Well, it's rare, but there's also some missing facts. So when you say the lot owner owns it and has title insurance on it, and somebody's built a house on their lot, that doesn't really affect the title. Title to property is essentially the ownership of the property and any potential encumbrances, mortgages, liens, judgments, things of that nature, as well as easements and declaration of restrictions and subdivisions, et cetera. That's what title insurance is looking at. It's not looking at whether there's a structure on the property. So where in a case like that, I'm not sure how it would play out. The other thing title insurance does is it's insuring you to the date of the policy. As we discussed, it is insurance about past events. It is not casualty insurance that covers potential future events.
Right.
So the Joneses own this property and there's no claim against their ownership. If somebody comes along and builds a house on that property while they're away, that doesn't affect their title. It's a completely different legal matter.
It's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
It's a lawsuit waiting to happen, but it is not the kind of thing that title insurance directly covers, though, again, in a closing, hopefully we would see that and prevent it from happening.
I think we saw it a lot more before we got had the advantage of internet and the computers for handling things and typing things.
No, again, I don't mean to date myself, but it is very interesting how the practice has evolved in my lifetime, because there's something called the Marketable Record Title Act, and it's one of the things that title insurance companies can use and rely upon to be able to disregard old matters. And the way the act worked is you have what's called a root of title deed, and that deed is defined as a deed that has been of record for at least 30 years. Now, it might be 50 or 60 years, but it has to be at least 30 years. So a deed of record for at least 30 years, you can disregard any matters that predate that deed that are not reflected subsequently. So you can re-record documents, or you can put a notice of a prior older document, but documents interests that predate a root of title, which is a deed that has been at least 30 years, can be extinguished by the Marketable Record Title Act, or MARTA. The reason I bring that up is when I started practicing, as you say, we used to have to go to the courthouse and look through the court records. The Attorney's Title Insurance Fund, I brought them up before. They have the best computerized system, at least they had it, they still do, wherein you can search the public records. But when I started practicing in the 80s, their computer records in Broward County, that's where I was at the time, only went back to 1970, I think, or 71. So you had to still go to the courthouse and get searches for a root of title deed. I was in practice in 87, so I had to find a deed that has been a record since 1957. Well, I remember crossing the line in 2010 here in Brevard County. I believe the computer records now available on the internet, so we don't even need the other system. It's all publicly available information. Go back to 1980. So now any deeds, from 1980 forward are 30-year deeds. Mm-hmm. So again, sometimes we still have to go back behind the computer and go to the courthouse, but we've entered the age where I rarely have to leave my office now to do a title search because deeds have been a record for such a long period of time.
Well, I know a lot of people ask that, and I know it sounds very complicated on the radio, but you can always call Jonathan or visit him. Give us your information, how they could ask for questions as far as title, or if they have a specific question that they're concerned about.
All right. Well, again, I am a real estate attorney with Lack & Lack Chartered, and I can be reached at the law office at area code 321-953-5115. But if you are seeking simply a title insurance agency to close a transaction and you don't feel the need for an attorney, or you want to speak with me, but at this point you just want somebody to close it, you can reach out to Waterview Title Services. That's my title insurance agency, Waterview Title Services. And that phone number is area code 321-984-8990, and on the web it's waterviewtitle.com.
That's great. Let's talk just a little bit about our map, our, what are we calling it?
The bridging
the map. Thank you. I couldn't quite get that out, because we also want to talk a little bit about the Florida's Hardest Hit program, because that's another great opportunity to tell people about ways that they can save their home if they're in it right now and they're finding problems on paying their mortgage. But you and I were both from Broward County, which is consists of Fort Lauderdale and Pompano and Hollywood and so forth. In fact, I always tell this little story. When I moved up here in 1980, because Broward and Brevard are so close, especially when you're typing it, I think I had to erase my contracts for the first 3 years because I was always typing in Broward County, and I thought, no, it's Brevard County.
Yeah, they always say we only changed 2 letters.
That's right, just 2 letters on that. And we're calling it Bridging the Map because there are so many people in South Florida that are tuned into our show, but they've been there for, their adult life. Maybe they grew up in the 60s or 70s in South Florida, and they've lived all their time there, and they love it. But, South Florida has changed. It's become very urban as opposed to suburban like I was used to seeing it back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And they're looking for that place that reminds them of Broward County, or maybe even Dade County or West Palm, because your offices down there do have the access to all the MLS and so forth down there as well. They're looking for that place to move to, but they don't know where to move because they've gotten so comfortable in South Florida as far as kind of fitting in, but they think, I don't really like all the traffic, the hustle bustle. So we're providing a service where they can come up, spend the weekend up here. We'll show them around, show them how it looked back in the day. In fact, the other day I was driving to an open house and I was on A1A, and I was driving, and this is probably bad to do, but I grabbed my smartphone, took a picture, because I thought no one's going to believe there's no traffic in front of me, no traffic coming towards me, and no traffic behind me, and I'm on A1A. That is a picture that you couldn't have seen in South Florida for 30 years. So those are the kind of things we're here to help migrate some of our long-term friends and the residents of South Florida. And there is a place that will remind you of South Florida. So that's our Bridging the Map.
Right. Yeah. Well, Waterview Realty Services, our brokerage, for which, Jean, you are one of our top agents, and appreciate that. Waterview Realty Services, which can also be found on the web at waterviewre.com. That's waterviewre.com. And what we're trying to do, I'm part of that migration, if you will. I came up to this area in around 2003. I actually discovered it, I call it for myself, discovered the area in the mid-90s, and it just took me a few years to make my way up here. But when I discovered the area, my first thought was, I grew up in Hollywood in the 70s, and I said, this looks like where I grew up without, at the time, in the mid-90s, all the traffic and all the aggravation. Now, I still have offices down there, and I go down there at least once a week. And while I like it down there and there's a lot of great amenities, I can't wait to get home every night. The traffic, the hustle and bustle, there's a lot to be said for Broward County. And for those looking to buy in Broward County, or what they call the Tri-County area of Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County, Waterview Realty would be happy to assist you. But for those of you who are looking for what it used to be, Brevard County is the place to be. There's plenty of amenities, plenty of opportunities, but the prices are much lower, and the property options are substantially greater. You can live beachside or even in an oceanfront home for far less than you can live off the water in the South Florida area.
Oh my gosh, yes. I would estimate at least 50% in many cases or more, the difference in prices. And I know we want to cover something that probably takes a half an hour to really explain, and we're going to explain it in the next 4 minutes, but I wanted to make sure people out there know about a service that the state has that is not being advertised anywhere because they don't have the marketing budget, but it's called the Florida's Hardest Hit Program. This is for people that are currently in a home and they're having problems making their payment. Maybe they even haven't made a payment for the last 8 months or 9 months, and they're getting close to talk about foreclosure and they need some help. You're one of the advisors for the Florida's Hardest Hit Program. Tell us a little bit about that. We don't have enough time to go into a lot of the details, but just the high points.
All right. Well, the Florida Hardest Hit Fund is a federally funded state program that arises out of the Making Home Affordable umbrella of programs that President Obama put in back in 2008. The program here in Florida started in 2010, but really in 11 is when it rolled out, April of 2011. So the program's been around for a number of years. The intention of the Florida Hardest Hit Fund is to assist unemployed or underemployed homeowners with their mortgage payment during their period of unemployment. So you've lost your job. Now, it does have to be through no fault of your own. So if you've quit your job, if you voluntarily retired, or if you were fired for cause, those don't qualify. But for those, because of the economy, who had lost their job, and here on the Space Coast, we had substantial layoffs at NASA and the Space Center a number of years ago, and those were highly qualified folks who just lost their job due to layoffs. And of course, once they lost their job, they had difficulties making their mortgage payment. So the state of Florida, presuming you qualify, will make your mortgage payment for you for up to 12 months or $24,000, whichever comes first. And there are a variety of other bits of information that time doesn't permit me to go into as far as the qualifications. But it also, as you had pointed out, if you're behind on your mortgage, there's a reinstatement piece as well. So if you've missed payments, you didn't know about this program, now you hear about it, and oh great, the state will now start making my mortgage payment. They will also pay your arrearages. And again, there are different programs or different pieces to the program, but it's if you need mortgage payment assistance, they'll still pay up to $18,000 to reinstate your loan and then make your mortgage payment for you. If it turns out you've been struggling or you've gotten a job now, you fell in the hole, you couldn't make your mortgage payment, you went 4, 5, 6, 7 months without paying it, now you've got a job and you can pay it, but the bank's not working with you because they want that 7 months, the state will pay up to $25,000 to reinstate you. Now, this is money that, again, there are little asterisks. It is essentially free money. There's no cost to apply, and there's minimal payback. It's only if you sell your home at a profit, and it's only for a 5-year period, and it goes down 20% a year each year. So if you were to take the money and then immediately sell your home for a profit, then you'd have to pay it back. But after 1 year, it's 20% less than 40, 60, 80. And after 5 years, there's no repayment obligation. So it's essentially the state of Florida helping out its unemployed or underemployed homeowners to retain their homes and enable them to focus on getting a job and getting back on their feet, as opposed to the stress and struggle of dealing with a foreclosure.
Right. And there's so many people out there, if you know of anyone that you feel is, they're talking about, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to be foreclosed on and so forth. The offices of Jonathan at Lack and Lack Chartered can also talk to you about that, because foreclosure can have a defense. You can provide a foreclosure defense to begin with, but also provide more information about this Florida's Hardest Hit program. It's a wonderful, wonderful program for those that qualify. Again, it doesn't cost a lot of money to even talk to find out about it or apply for it. It's basically free.
Well, for more information, you can go to our website at lacklaw.com. That's LACKLAW.com. And there's a link to the Florida Hardest Hit Fund. If you do choose to apply, please use referral code 69032, and that will get you assigned to our office so that I can give you personal assistance and help you with the program.
That's right. Might even be better to call you first, and then you can get
that's
assisted.
A good idea as well, because then we can discuss the matter with you and see what your needs are. So to reach Lack and Lack Chartered, please call area code 321-953-5115 or check us out on the web at lacklaw.com.
If you'd like more information about the Florida's Hardest Hit program, title, or any of the topics we talk about on the show, you can go to yourhometownsolutions.com. Send me a little, contact me and send me a little email. I will be able to get back with you and tell you all the things that perhaps you missed. Thank you again, Jonathan Lack. And we had a great show and we provided some great information. Thank you, Jonathan, for joining me today. And